Republicans shut down the government. And the stakes couldn't be higher. My name is Alejandra Gomez, Executive Director of Living United for Change in Arizona, LUCHA. We are one of the largest grassroots organizations in Arizona, led by and for working class families, immigrants, and communities of color. For more than a decade, we have been organizing across Arizona to defend our families, build power in our communities, and fight for an economy and democracy that works for all of us. Make no mistake, Republicans own this shutdown. Donald Trump and Republicans in Congress are holding working families hostage to protect billionaire tax breaks and push through cruel and disastrous agendas. Republicans have made their priorities clear: tax breaks for billionaires, cuts to Medicaid, and dismantling access to the Affordable Health Care Act. Republicans would rather shut down the government than give you health care. Let me repeat that for every hardworking American. MAGA Republicans would rather protect their billionaire friends than protect your health. Shame. What does that mean in real life for you? It means millions of people across this country will lose their health care. Premiums will skyrocket. Families will be forced to choose between rent or chemo. Rural hospitals will close down. And make no mistake, that means people will die. It means millions of people across this country will lose everything, will lose their health. Studies show that more than 50,000 low-income working Americans will lose their lives every year because they lack health care. That number will only grow with this Republican budget. In Arizona, it is estimated that cuts to subsidies under the ACA will result in over 100,000 people losing health insurance. That's people like Vivian, a 26-year-old from Phoenix, who had a medical emergency last year without health insurance. As a part-time worker, she didn't qualify for access, and the Affordable Care Act was her lifeline. ACA saved her life. It allows her to see specialists and manage her medical condition. But Republicans want to take her health away. Francisco, who has lived with epilepsy since childhood, went years without treatment because he was denied coverage before ACA. Today, after brain surgery and medication, he is in much better health, but only because he can stay insured. These Republican cuts to healthcare put his health and stability at risk. This is about life and death. It's children losing access to doctors, seniors being priced out of their prescriptions, families who live paycheck to paycheck being pushed past the breaking point. How much more can we take? When will this be enough? How much more will Republicans steal from Arizonans? How much more pain will they inflict? Rural Arizonans will be hit the hardest. Yes, you and your families will be among the hardest hit. And Trump Republicans couldn't care less. Shame. MAGA Republicans are making a statement. They don't care about your health. They don't care about your family. And they don't care about whether you can put food on your table and keep a roof over your head. They care about making billionaires richer. That is the moral rot of the Republican Party. They will strip your family of their health care, shut down your local hospital, plunge us into a shutdown, all while pretending to fight for you. Republicans own this shutdown, and when you see Trump unilaterally firing employees, canceling programs, and using families as props for his political gains, remember who brings that chaos: Trump. This moment is bigger than politics. It's about whether healthcare is a right for every family or a luxury for the rich. We are fighting for families, for healthcare, for a future where people come before billionaires. This moment demands a choice. Stand with families or stand by as Republicans rip healthcare away and condemn tens of thousands to an early grave. So with that said, I am honored to introduce someone who has been fighting shoulder to shoulder with Democrats, putting Arizonans first in Washington, Congresswoman Ansari.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you to Alex and the entire LUCHA team for all that you do for our communities, for fighting, for people, keeping people informed, engaged, always, but especially during this extremely difficult time. I'm Congresswoman Yassamin Ansari, and while I am honored to stand here alongside labor leaders, some of the best Democratic fighters in our state and our community, the truth is we should be elsewhere right now. Our government should be open and working for people. Instead, we are in day 3 of a Trump and Republican-led government shutdown that they created to further enact their authoritarian regime in this country. Let's be very clear. Donald Trump is in the White House, Republicans control the Senate, and Republicans control the U.S. House of Representatives. So let's talk a little bit about how we got here. Earlier this week, every single House Democrat in the United States of America flew to Washington, D.C. to fight and negotiate a clean continuing resolution to keep the government open. Where were Republican members of Congress? Absolutely nowhere to be found. The Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, literally told Republican members to stay home. They were not in Washington, D.C. throughout the entirety of last week. So Senate Democrats held the line. They were extremely clear from the jump that unless Republicans negotiate on healthcare in particular so that your healthcare premiums do not double, they will not vote for this continuing resolution. And they did not, and I'm extremely proud that they did not, and Democrats stood the line. It's a big deal. Meanwhile, our president, let's talk about Monday of this last week, Donald Trump, at the last minute after going back and forth, decided to meet with House and Senate Democratic leadership in the White House. What was interesting about this meeting is that while Donald Trump typically brings cameras into the room and wants press in the room, this was a closed-door meeting. This reality show president, who always thrives on the spectacle, knows how deeply unpopular it is that he is ripping away healthcare from 17 million Americans, that he is greenlighting and allowing for Affordable Care Act tax credits and subsidies to expire so that your healthcare premiums could double this month. So he did not allow cameras into the room. And then immediately after the meeting, decided to post a deeply racist AI video with complete and utter lies about what Democrats are fighting for. So they know they are underwater. They know exactly what they're doing. And that is why this is a Trump-led government shutdown. He is willing and comfortable with millions and millions of Americans losing their health care, not being able to afford insulin, not being able to get their cancer treatment, and possibly dying as a result of this. As Alex said, people will die as a result of the Republican shutdown. Let's not forget in 2017, it was our very own Republican Senator John McCain who was the deciding vote to save the Affordable Care Act. Donald Trump has never let this go since he was president the first time and now, but John McCain knew Arizonans rely on the Affordable Care Act and how much they would be hurt without it. I wish our own Arizona Republicans understood that right now, but they do not. They do not have that same courage and foresight, and they have betrayed their constituents at every juncture of this administration. I'm talking about Juan Ciscomani, Eli Crane, David Schweiker, Paul Gosar, Andy Biggs, and Abe Hamadeh. Two of those people are running for governor of Arizona right now. And it's insane. Instead of being in Washington, D.C. and negotiating and trying to protect healthcare for constituents, they are more focused on lying to people here in Arizona and working on their next political office. Democrats are holding the line. We will not be bullied into selling out the American people. That's not who we are, and there is no room for compromise here. Let me be clear, I do not want a government shutdown. Nobody wants a government shutdown. But Donald Trump, I think, does want a government shutdown. He wants to continue his authoritarianism. He wants to justify the insane and just shameful mass firings they have already been carrying out. And I want to be very clear about this. Federal workers in the United States of America have been under attack by this regime since day one of this administration. I spent my early days in Congress outside of the USAID, of the Environmental Protection Agency, of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, talking with sobbing federal workers who were either getting fired, intimidated, harassed, and that same thing is happening right now. If you aren't aware, yesterday some of our government websites, like the Small Business Administration, like HUD, have propaganda up on their websites where they're talking about the radical left shutting down the government. And I want to be very clear about that. This is against the law. This is a violation of something called the Hatch Act. And on the Oversight Committee, and when we do take back power, I assure you we will hold these people accountable and responsible and legally liable for this. I want to talk about one more lie that this administration is peddling and Republicans are peddling, because it's very important to not let them scapegoat immigrants like they continue to do. The new talking point from Donald Trump and all Republicans is that Democrats want, quote unquote, illegal aliens to get health care, and that's what this is about. And I just want to be very clear. First of all, as it stands, undocumented immigrants in this country do not have access to Medicare, Medicaid, or the Affordable Care Act. This is a lie. Republicans are distracting from the fact that they are ripping away health care from 17 million Americans. They are shuttering community health centers. They are going to be, already hospitals have closed across the country, and hospitals will continue to close across the country. So please do not listen to the lies that they are telling you to distract from what they are doing to healthcare in this country and how people will be impacted. This is going to be a difficult, confusing, and scary time. Shutdowns are never easy, but this is not about winning or losing. It is about doing what is best for our constituents. John McCain knew that, and I sincerely hope that my Arizona Republican colleagues will soon come to the same conclusion and work with us on a spending bill that protects healthcare and ensures that your healthcare premiums do not double as early as this month. With that, I want to turn it over to an amazing local champion for working families who most recently fought for and won a landmark initiative to erase $2 billion in medical debt for 1 million Arizonans, who serves many of the residents I also represent in Congress, House Minority Leader Oscar de los Santos.
Thank you, Congresswoman. And thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you to the incredible labor leaders, community fighters, and also to my Democratic colleagues in the Arizona House and Senate. My name is Oscar de los Santos, and I serve as the Arizona House Democratic leader. We are here for one reason and one reason only, because Republican politicians in Congress have deliberately shut down the federal government, and families across Arizona are paying the price. This Republican shutdown is no accident. It is a reckless, cruel, and avoidable choice, one that will unleash chaos, confusion, and pain on working people in every corner of our state. Just weeks ago, Arizona House Democrats delivered free school meals for public school students across the state. But now, Republican politicians in Congress are they have taken food off the table for hardworking families. WIC, a lifeline for 150,000 pregnant women, infants, and children across Arizona, is in crisis. It is only a matter of time before babies go without formula and children go without food, all because right-wing politicians in Washington would rather play games than give you health care. It does not stop there. Veterans, the men and women who served this country with honor, are being abandoned by Republicans in Congress. Just months ago, Arizona House Democrats fought and created Homes for Heroes, a landmark program to end veterans' homelessness in Arizona. But now, thanks to the Republican shutdown, the VA has cut off job training, shuttered the GI and National Cemetery hotlines, and closed regional VA offices. The very people who risked everything for this nation are now being treated as disposable by Republicans in Congress. So you may be wondering, why are Republicans like Andy Biggs and David Schweikert and Juan Ciscomani abandoning and targeting children and veterans? Why would they inflict so much pain on innocent working families? The answer is simple. Because Republican politicians in Washington will do anything and everything to tear down the Affordable Care Act and deny you health care. They are willing to break the government, abandon veterans, starve children, and flat out lie to the American people about why this is happening, all to get their way, protect their billionaire donors, and rip away health care from millions of Americans. That is the true face of the Republican shutdown. Cruelty for the many, handouts for the billionaire few. It is now my honor to introduce Marisol Garcia, President of the Arizona Education Association.
I not only get to follow my congresswoman, but then also my state legislator. Marisol Garcia, I'm an 8th grade social studies teacher and a proud president of the Arizona Education Association. We want to make it very clear in solidarity together that this shutdown will impact the most vulnerable people in our community. This shutdown was not caused by disagreements. This was caused by the need for those in power to stay in power. We want to talk a little bit about how this will impact schools. The biggest thing for us to think about is a thing called impact aid, which disproportionately actually impacts the folks living in Republican districts in our state. This means that Native American students, military dependents will lose up to $200 million a year that is set aside to support those students. We have heard nothing from the Republican representatives across the state, except for finger pointing and probably, I think we saw them on TV talking about their new races that they are running for. We are not talking about what is happening in our schools. New grant funding that was approved last year has been consistently in chaos. And let me tell you, as a parent and as a teacher, the very last thing we need is instability and chaos to ensure that our students can learn in our classrooms. And that is all we've had since the beginning of 2025. I also want to talk about the healthcare. It is few and far between that you will find a public educator that is able to cover their spouse or their child. It is too expensive. And you may be at home thinking, well, the ACA, I'm not on ACA, I'm on employer healthcare. All the healthcare systems work together. One impact impacts all of us. At this point, teachers are receiving 2% raises as well as 5% healthcare increases. That means we are running at a deficit year after year. The last thing I'll say is, the last time I was in this room, I brought about 60 8th graders on their field trip, right? And so I'm going to talk to all of you the same way I talk to my students. And Congresswoman Ansari said it very well. But there are 3 branches of government. 2 of them are controlled by one party. That one party controls what bills are heard, what appropriation, which money gets sent. They're the ones who pass the bills. Then it goes down the street to the White House where it is signed. This is welcome to Miss Garcia's class. Right? One of my students in front. So we learned the 3 branches of government. And here's the thing. The Democrats are not in control of any of this. To blame the Democrats or the minority party for any of this is a joke. And the folks that would have taken Miss Garcia's class would have seen right through that lie. Because they are the ones who create the bills, pass the bills, stack the committees, decide when bills are heard, and actually vote on them. So to pivot and blame those who are not in power is not new to America. We should be used to this. But let's also be clear that the ones who are most vulnerable are the ones who are going to be impacted. And my last lesson for Ms. Garcia's class is that when folks don't get along, when I put two students that maybe don't get along in a group project and their grade is tied together, they got to find a way to work it out. They got to find a way to work it out. And for me, I would kind of look at those kids like, look, I'm looking at you. Get it together. And that's what we're doing here. Get it together. Children are starving. People are going to die. Students are not going to have a safe place to go to school. We need you to get it together, get us a passing grade so that we can continue with the good work of Arizona. Thank you. I messed up. I was supposed to introduce Jason Henley, the president of AFSCME, one of my union siblings. Thank you, Jason.
I'm Jason Henley. I'm the president of AFSCME Local 2384. I'm also an industrial maintenance mechanic for the city of Phoenix. I work on heavy equipment at the water treatment plants that supply hundreds of millions of gallons of water to Phoenix every day. I'm proud to do what I do. I love the service we provide to the citizens, and I can't imagine a life not being a public servant. Right now, Arizona working families and retirees are facing skyrocketing healthcare costs. I also sit on our healthcare trust board. I'm the chairman of that. I get to see firsthand how this is going to impact us. Hospitals and healthcare centers are closing, and workers are facing unemployment as our healthcare system teeters on the brink of collapse. The president and the yes men and women in Congress promised Arizona families they would lower costs. Instead, everything seems to be getting more expensive. Instead of fixing the healthcare crisis that they created, the administration and its allies in Congress are forcing government shutdown so that they can protect the massive tax breaks to billionaires and greedy corporations that they passed in the so-called Big Beautiful Bill. For AFSCME members, this shutdown is a direct threat to our jobs and the public services that we provide. States, cities, and towns are already facing budget shortfalls, and now they will lose even more federal funding. A quick personal story. I represent members in almost all of the departments in the city of Phoenix, but one that is going to be impacted right now is going to be the aviation department. When air traffic controllers decide that they do not want to work without a paycheck any longer and walk off the job, I have hundreds of represented employees that work at the airport. And if there's no air traffic control, there's no planes, there's no need for them. So this is a direct result of their inability to work with the Democrats to fix the issues in the budget. We are not here to service Washington plutocrats. We are here to service Americans, Arizonans. That's what we do. America is not Mar-a-Lago only. We are spread between two different oceans. There are 350 million of us, and we need to be respected, and we need to demand that respect. Without funding to support the work we do, this means that furloughs, even layoffs for AFSCME members across all sectors. We've already seen that. To make matters worse, the administration is even threatening to use shutdown to advance their Extreme Project 2025 agenda and illegally fire workers, including our members. We won't stand for this. Federal workers are not bargaining chips. They are people who inspect their food, protect their water, distribute Social Security and Medicare benefits, and keep our nation safe and strong. Without funding to support the work we do, this means furloughs, even layoffs for AFSCME. AFSCME members are urging Congress to act now to lower healthcare costs, protect federal workers and fund public services, because when our jobs and communities are under attack, we have to take a stand. Because anti-worker extremists failed to extend the premium tax credits for people who get their insurance through the ACA, the marketplace premiums for these families will double, increasing by more than 114% on average. That means everyone will see their health insurance premiums rise, even if they don't get insurance through the ACA marketplace, as hospitals and others struggle to cover the increased cost of uncompensated care. Hospital closures and cutbacks, especially in rural areas, have already begun. This will mean furloughs and layoffs for AFSCME members who work in healthcare. It will harm the patients we serve and make our communities sicker. The same politicians who are responsible for the healthcare crisis are responsible for the government shutdown we are now facing, which has been many months in the making. Rather than lower costs for working people and retirees, they've prioritized making greedy billionaires even richer. On behalf of our members at Local 2384, I join our community partners here today to call on Congress to fund important public services that our most vulnerable communities need. Let's lower healthcare costs, restore funding for rural hospitals, and protect public service workers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone that joined us here today. This concludes our press conference, and speakers will be available for individual interviews. Thank you.